Hello, is anybody out there? Let me just check that this is working. I can't see any messages just yet, so let's see what we got. So tonight, I thought we'd talk. Got a few things actually to talk about. It's working. Oh, good. Hello, everyone. Just check these messages. Sorry there. Okay. Jonathan, Annabella, thank you. Good to see you. So, a little bit different today. You see, I've got a bit of a skin condition at the moment. Well, it happens quite often. That's like I used to have a very big beard, and it's quite long, at one stage because, basically I just didn't care back then because I just let it grow, sort of thing. But when I have a beard, I have dry skin, and it gets a bit, I get scabby, and it gets quite sore. So every now and then I shave completely and just let it heal for a while. So that's why I shaved a bit. That was this morning. It's been a long time. I look a bit weird, actually. That's why I'm wearing the hat, actually, again, apart from the light, but kind of makes you look like an egghead. Hey, Jeannie, how you doing? Yes, had a shave. Yep. All clean shaven. And I look a bit like an egg at the moment. So, got a few things we can talk about today, but anyone's welcome to join me. The link is in the chat there, so more than welcome. I'd love to have someone to chat to. Oh, a bit of water. So I put up an article a couple of days back on training methods with restricted breathing, and someone asked me a little while ago if that translates into swimming, like for pool swimming and so on. And yes, I gave a good example. Like in the 70s, there was a US Olympic team actually did their best team ever. Actually, was their coach actually trained them to restrict their breathing while they were training. There's a number of good benefits for this, which we'll talk about. Now, it's not just about holding your breath, although that is restricting your breathing, okay? But it's also about the volume of breath that you take in. So, for example, sometimes if you take in too much air, when you take in a very, very deep breath, it's very difficult, it's very uncomfortable for you to hold your breath, okay? So you'll find that usually those holds will not last as long. But if you take in less volume of air, you can actually hold your breath for a much longer period, okay? And that's how these athletes trained. Now, there's been a few coaches over the years that have adopted this approach, and obviously there's other. Let me see. There's other reasons that you would like for average people. You don't have to be an athlete to do this, but there are other reasons that you do this. Buteyko, for example, Konstantin Buteyko, who started the Buteyko breathing method. He used this for asthmatics. Okay. Now, there have been. There's always some people come out and say, "Oh, this has been debunked," sort of thing, simply because like they tried to reproduce these same results, but figured that these athletes were responded to a placebo effect. Now, I don't believe in that placebo bullshit when it comes to especially like high performance elite athletes, right? But their training methods for the so-called study that supposedly debunked this was that they took in full breath of air, like the most air they could, and obviously they couldn't hold it, or the athletes couldn't perform because they were not as comfortable. Okay, so when they do this, actually, I'll show you some of the article. The best way to do this has been to take in like a half breath and then do the hold, the breath hold. Okay, and this is what I've been doing with training for my free diving. Now, this Emil Zetterpack. Now, me and George were talking about this guy last week. Now, he's a Czechoslovakian, in the 50s. He was the only one athlete. He's probably, I think, he's still in history, who has won the 5,000 meter, the 10,000 meter, and the full marathon. Gold medal. And he was actually been he's been worldwide named as the world's best runner. But his training methods were quite brutal as well. But I think that also comes down to the fact that the way he did his breathing techniques as well. Now, his CO2 tolerance training was very impressive. He used to do exactly what I'm doing with the bike sprints. You can do this. It doesn't matter how you do your sprints, whether you do it on a stationary bike or even a real bicycle, running or swimming, or any other way that you might do sprints. The breath work is the most important part of it. In doing as much as what he actually did, what Emil did, was hold his breath for as long as he could and sprint as fast and as long as he could. Now, it was only a half breath though. Like sometimes it would be taking a normal breath of air and a normal exhale. Okay, not an extreme exhale where you push all your air out, just down to say half level, and hold his breath for as long as he could, and then do the sprints. Right? And just like I do with the 1 minute repeats, he would do this. Once he's finished his sprint, he would take 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 to 5, just normal breaths, and then do it again. Okay, so you don't allow yourself to recover from that sprint, from those sprints. Then you just do it again. And this is what builds up the CO2 tolerance, because you're going to restrict the intake or the over breathing while you're sprinting. Okay, which is going to build your CO2 tolerance, or certainly build CO2 levels, and you will get, obviously, as the more you do this, the same with any kind of adaptation to exercise, you will get better and better, and obviously your CO2 tolerance will improve. Now, when it went to the, of course, there were a lot more athletes who did this a little bit later. Most people never really took this on for marathon runners because they thought it looked too difficult and too much hard work, sort of thing. But I always get these people who will comment like, "Oh, but it's impossible." If you watch the marathon, like the elite athletes today who do marathons, for example, they mouth breathe all the way, sort of thing. That doesn't mean that they're right, and for the times that they do now, there's really no difference. They should be doing much better times, really. If they did this kind of adaptation breathing, they would do a lot better, But that's neither here nor there, I guess. But Carl Stoff, or Stauf, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but he was a Olympic coach for the US track team, and he used to do this as well. And they were the most successful Olympic track team in American history. At 1968, they were doing this. Very similar sort of restricted breathing for their training. And then you had Doc Councilman for hypoxic training and swimming. Okay, that was in the 70s. And the US Olympic swimming team, they would do, like, on average, if they just using freestyle as a example, the strokes, most swimmers will do three, every 3 strokes they'll do a breath. So you stroke 1, 2, 3, breathe to the side, right? He would restrict them to 4, 5, 6, sometimes many more. Sometimes I think like some of them went out to like 9 strokes, sort of thing. So it's basically doing the same thing. You do a half breath and then restrict their breathing for X amount of strokes. And obviously the more adapted, or the higher their CO2 tolerance, then obviously they can do more, at a faster pace later on. But I think the key is too a very short recovery period, because you don't want to fall into that. Okay, I've just done a like 10-second sprint, and then okay, just stop, rest, and mouth breathe, and so on, relax, normal breathing sort of thing. So even for a short period of time, like 10 to 20 minutes sort of thing, you can do this. And obviously, like, even for a beginner, this is achievable sort of work. Is obviously you're not going to get the same results as like an elite athlete, but you will get the results that your body is adapted to, and that will also improve, the more you do it. Same with any training. So that's just a bit of an example I just wanted to talk about. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the chats. Thank you very much. Oh, Josephine, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Big super chat sticker. Shiba dog happily messaging his cheeks with his mouth wide open. Very good. Excellent. Okay, so let's go to the top here. The link is at the top there. If anyone wants to join the chat today, you're more than welcome. Hi, Annabelle. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. How's the house hunting going? Josephine, good to see you. Howdy, beautiful people. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I have to, every now and then I have to, I have to let my skin heal. I just spoke about that before, but oops, excuse me. Okay, so I don't know what it is, but when I grow a beard or keep a beard, like I used to have a very big, long beard. But when I have a beard, I get very dry and sore skin underneath around my chin. So every now and then I need to shave to let it heal, But I don't like it much because it looks like an egg, Yeah. Hey, Jonathan. Oh my gosh, I was looking at chat. Looking. Thanks, Josephine. Yeah. Hey, Jonathan, how you doing, my man? Good to see you. You join after breakfast? Good man. Good man. Actually, I've got some things I want to talk to you about, actually. So it'd be good to have Jonathan on, because we're going to talk about some amino acids and peptides, actually. And the difference between, actually, I want to talk about the difference between, because there's nothing wrong with peptides. We get peptides from meat, like if you get on the carnivore diet, right? But there's a whole line of different peptides, synthetic peptides that you can buy. Okay, not in Australia, unfortunately. You can't buy these things unless it's for research and that sort of stuff, which they won't allow you to do that. So they won't allow you to do that in Australia. Plenty of other countries that you can do that, but I suppose that is what it is. But interesting subject anyway. You can hold your breath much longer now because of carnivore. That's very good. See, this is why, there's a very much a synergistic part of being on the carnivore diet. Like I always say, like you get more CO2 production in the human body. You naturally produce more CO2 simply by eating fat. Okay. Now I don't want to go into the calorie sort of aspect, but because obviously it's just a lot of hooey. But even if you adhere to that sort of the calorie intake sort of thing, right? They've always said that you get about 4.5 calories from carbohydrates and proteins, and 9 from fat. Simply put, but the metabolism, even if you get, you don't get really any nutrients from carbohydrates, but you do produce I think it's about 4 or 5 times less CO2 production from carbohydrates. Okay, which in itself would also prove or show, according to the Bohr effect, that would show that obviously that if you are eating just carbs, you're producing less CO2, which means that you're going to have more reactive oxygen species. Okay, which means that you're also going to have a lot more mitochondrial oxidative stress. Okay, because you're not getting producing that CO2, you're not getting oxygen to that cells, right? Because that's the signaling molecule that actually delivers the oxygen to the cells, to the mitochondria, right? And obviously you don't get as much from proteins either, but you do get a lot from, I think it's like 5 or 6 times more from fat. Okay. So this is a good, I think it's another good reason why, fat is our energy source, basically. Well, when you're fat adapted anyway. I suppose that's more of a construct as well, but just an easy way to put it. So if you are fat adapted and eating a lot of fat, obviously you're going to produce more CO2. You get less reactive oxygen species. You get less oxidative stress, and so on, right? So things, I think it's not just about breath work. Like I always say, it's not just about breath work. It's not just about carnivore diet either. But that's, I think, another reason why a lot of people feel much better on the carnivore diet, because you are producing more CO2, which is also a vasodilator. Okay, which is why a number of people also say that they've gotten rid of brain fog, which carbs cause as well. But the vasodilation, obviously, you get more oxygen to the brain as well. You can think clearer. You feel more calm, generally speaking. Okay, because again, this is what CO2 does for you. It helps to bring you into that ventral vagal state. Not that it keeps you there. And like I said, breath work, is still needed because it's still a stressful life, even if you are on carnivore diet. But I think that's one of the biggest reasons why carnivore diet helps as well. I mean, obviously, there's a number of big reasons, but CO2 is also there. John, good to see you, mate. Thanks for joining. Good evening. I'll be listening in while I fall asleep. Fair enough. Yep. Howdy, Jonathan. Howdy, John. Insider info: Olympic swimmers are using compounds like DADA and methylene blue. Okay. I don't know. I always get mixed stuff about information about methylene. I suppose you get that about everything, though, don't you? Methylene blue. Yeah, maybe I should try it sometime. I don't know. Methylene blue to increase oxygen delivery, helpful as they don't have to go up for water as often. Yeah, less water resistance. Yep. Yeah. Again, like breath work, breath control, and would do the same thing, wouldn't it? Build their CO2 tolerance, so they wouldn't have to take on too much, so many supplements and so on, peptides and so on. I feel so stressed and down. Maybe I'm overtired. Yeah, well, you're in the middle of, you're having health problems, plus you have to move and find a place to live. That's, everyone would feel stressed in that situation, Annabella. So and they would feel down about it too, you know. And that in itself is going to make you tired as well. Okay, the stress and the constantly thinking about trying to find a place to live. So yeah, the only thing I can suggest is make sure you get good sleep. Make sure you do your like cold showers and breath work, and that'll help. It's not going to make everything go away, but it'll help with the stress. I tried to grow a beard, kind of always let me down. Not a good idea. Yeah, might try steroids. Yeah. Yeah, I hope you sleep well tonight, Amber. Yeah. Lamb cooking. My God. That's a lot of lamb. Very good. Yeah, nice. Sounds good. Mm. Okay. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Annabella. I hope it is. So, I've been busy the last 3 weeks. Forgot about my weighing in. Yes, what I've 18 kilos. That's the most I've lost. Even my arm, lost even my arm while dancing to John's song. I can fully lift my right arm. Excellent, excellent, very good, Josephine. That's awesome. Well, the inflammation's going away. That's fantastic. Yeah, now to stay moving. Yeah, yeah. But you find, I mean, we always have these. Everything fluctuates. Doesn't matter. Like all our journeys are like this. Okay, when we go from, or when we're coming back from, being sick and so on. But we always have these fluctuating times. We're going to have our high times and our low times. More active, sort of weeks than other weeks. But that's what consistency is. Basically, it never looks. It's never a linear sort of climb. We sort of it goes up and down, sort of thing. But the good thing is that once you get going, that momentum is there. Even if you do fall off the wagon for a week or so, it comes back much faster. Okay, it really does. So. I've been able to do more movement, which is cool. That is very cool. Excellent, Annabelle. Yeah, it does suck. It does. It sucks in a big way. Yeah. Did a few cold bursts of water tonight. Good girl. Well done. Yeah. I use methylene blue sometimes if I have a consultation or anything which involves a clearer head. Okay. Usually 10 to 20 milligrams. I don't use it daily. Yeah. Okay. So I'm interested to see like how that that helps you think better. I wonder if that would help for me. Yeah. Yeah, land didn't go up in price. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Actually, today I got a large piece of rump that I need to cut for $13 a kilo. I thought I was really impressed because it's been quite expensive recently at IGA in town. But I think it's because it's fattier pieces. Like here in Australia, for some reason, like actually I know why, because of the dietary guidelines and everything. But the fattier the meat, like the cheaper it is sometimes, especially when it's rump. So yeah, it was good. Yeah, land didn't go up yet. My butcher's increased mince meat by 2 or 3 kilos. Yeah, yeah. A lot of other meat's gone up actually. I saw some sliced rump for like $30 a kilo today. I'm like, it's just rump. Seriously, $30 a kilo? That's insane. Mm. Oh. Yeah, 3 times cold water. Only once. Good job. Good job. It gets better. It gets better. Yeah, that was good. It was a really good price, actually. Yeah. I'll go to Aldi tomorrow and try them out. Yeah. Actually, I tried Aldi's the chuck steak last week. Actually, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. So thanks for the recommend. Yeah, it wasn't too bad actually. It was actually a fairly reasonable price as well. So yeah, not bad at all. But I haven't been there for a while, so a few days anyway. So I think I mean this. I mean I love the synergistic or the synergy of breath work with carnivore diet. And of course the cold therapy. It all complements each other because it all stimulates the same mechanisms, right? And it all like I said, like the whole body, like the body is an ecosystem, right? And there's so many different things going on all at once, and so many reasons why each one of these modalities sort of interact with each other. It makes a huge difference. So I think that rather than just relying on your diet to get you somewhere, taking on these other approaches. Obviously there's other things that I do. In my 8 habits video, like there's 8 things that I do, but just taking on an extra one when you feel comfortable, like do it over time. Don't do it. You don't have to do it all at once. That can be a little bit overwhelming, and even for even if you've been doing this for a long time, like every now and then it can be overwhelming. You can overstimulate your body or your mind a bit, So sometimes you may need to take a rest, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But taking on these extra modalities can speed all these processes up. Whether you're looking for weight loss or fat loss, I should say. Or healing, metabolic healing, especially, I think you can really speed these processes up. And there are some things that you just cannot get from diet, such as, cold therapy, like the stimulation of mitochondria in your brown adipose tissue, for example. You just can't do that with diet, okay? You need that external stimulation. Building CO2 tolerance and building a it's stimulating, or also stimulating your hormone production, as well as including things like EPO, testosterone, and your blood cell production from your bone marrow. This comes with CO2 tolerance training and breath work. Okay, so this is why these things, I think, are the like I said, it's all a synergistic sort of approach, but it just seems to me like relying on diet is a really, really slow struggle. You're not producing, or you're not living the way, lifestyle wise, you're not living the way you should be doing. Like getting these stimulations externally. Now, of course, there are other things like sunlight and grounding and so on. Obviously, sleep is a big part of that. But again, that's why I like to encourage people to do these things first thing in the morning, because that will set your circadian biology. That will set you up first thing in the morning to get a better sleep at night. As long as you do everything that sort of complements that hormone production throughout the day. And of course, that comes down to other factors as well, stress and activities that you do and so on. But it's I really do think you can speed things up a lot, actually, if you take these things on. So, and you don't have to be an athlete to do these things. You don't have to be a high performer. These are things that we can do. When I started, I was not in a good way. I was not in a good way at all, you know. I sort of didn't realize when I started doing all these things, actually, I didn't really realize the benefits, or as you know, just how many benefits you actually get from these things. Like when I first started eating red meat, again, like when I was, I mean, especially after the transplant, I only ate it because that's all I could eat, right? And plus, I just didn't care either, you know. So I mean, everything else, you know, pretty much burnt my mouth. So that was just that was, and it made me feel good, you know. It really made me feel good. Um, and then when I started the breath work, that was out of necessity because I couldn't breathe properly. You know? Then, of course, I never, again, it felt good, you know, so I kept doing it. I didn't understand why I felt good at the time, of course. And, you know, my you know, brain fog and all this other stuff that was going on, you know, when I first started. But it didn't take me long to, you know, well, it certainly sped my recovery up. You know, it got to a point where, you know, some years had passed and I'm still here and I'm thinking, why am I still here, sort of thing. You know, it was especially when, you know, like even after the transplant, they thought I'd be dead by Christmas. It was only like a few months later. They didn't know if I'd actually bought any more time going through this process or not. You know, but you know, come to a point where I'm like, why am I still here, sort of thing, and I'm improving and I'm feeling pretty good at certain stages. Um, and I started to look at the things that I've been doing. You know, so that's why I think, yeah, I think this is. I think through this period, I really learned to listen to my body more. You know, well, I think I was really lucky that I found these things. I found these modalities that I mean, I went through it. It was a messy process. You know, well, I didn't just go straight to these and find these, you know, sort of modalities that I do these days. Um, it was a lot of trial and error. There was, I mean, it was years of trial and error, and there were setbacks, of course, because you know I tried different things. You know, all these different gurus would say, you know, take these things and take these things, and so on and so on. That would set me back a little while. Um, but when I finally sort of sifted out all the crap and sort of worked my way down to what I've got now, it was everything sort of clicked together, you know. But you know, I did these things um, basically because out of necessity, and I just and I liked the way I felt after I did them, you know. And when you're in such a bad shape, when you're in such a like a bad state, anything that makes you feel better, you want to repeat, you know. Um, any sort of measurable difference, you know, is going to make you, or it's going to interest. Well, it certainly does with me anyway. It certainly interested me in keeping that feeling going, because obviously, if you feel better, you're obviously on the right track, right? So that's the whole key to it. And I think that you know, getting rid of that chemo fog and the brain fog and so on, people do tend to learn how to listen to their body a little bit better. You know, they get more reactive and they notice those reactions. You know, when you eat something wrong, like if you've been on the carnivore diet for a while, for example, and then you eat something wrong, you notice those reactions quite fast. You know, it's very responsive. Whereas before, if you've been on the standard Western diet for your whole life, you kind of numb. You know, your body is numb to those reactions, and you think it's a normal reaction. That's just the way life is. You know, as you get older, sort of thing. So, you know, it can be, you know, like trial and error sort of process. I never had a plan because, you know, honestly, like when you're living from test to test, because every test with follicular lymphoma, for example, like my disease, every test that you get is there's a chance that it could be back, and that's always in the back of your mind, so we never planned anything beyond any test. And at first, like, tests were weekly, right? So you really can't live a life planning just from week to week, so I never really had a plan, but I just found things that I thought that interested me, give them a try, and if I felt good, I'd do them, and keep doing them, but I think that having those regular tests, though, did help me to sort these things out, because I could see actual results, like measurable results in my bloods, and I still do. I still see measurable results from when I do breath work, when I don't. For example, when I do cold therapy and when I don't, when I have a clean carnivore diet and I don't, when I do grounding and all these other things. Each one of these has a measurable difference, and this really came out a lot. This is part of my trial and error sort of process, because the benefit of having all these regular tests, like week to week, month to month, and so on, it was much easier for me than I guess for many other people who don't do that, to see the results. When I take in, like, for one example, like turmeric and all these herbs and spices that all these, plant-based gurus will tell you that, oh, this cures cancer, this cures cancer, and all this sort of crap. And there was like blueberries, for example, like one of the most toxic fruits that you can ever get, but they're full of antioxidants. The reason they're so dark is because they're full of antioxidants. It's amazing just how much bullshit there is out there, and it never ceases to amaze me, honestly. Like, nothing surprises me anymore except the fact that people just want to believe that crap. It's unbelievable, but then, I went through the same processes, though. I went through all those same processes, and I'm trying all these different things because obviously, I was sick of being sick. I was tired of being sick. I was tired of being tied to a hospital for the rest of my life, and that's one of the hardest things to deal with. Being tied to a hospital means that you have to live within proximity of that hospital as well. You like, whenever we made a move, we had to move house or anything like that, we had to consider proximity to my treating hospital, which means we couldn't go very far. Your whole life changes, and you are always in this constant, and think about what it does to your nervous system as well. This is why I talk about breath work a lot as well, because you can control your autonomic nervous system. But think about how much stress you are under when you're constantly thinking about, is it back? Every time you get a test, is the cancer back? You are constantly living in that fight or flight, or like sympathetic nervous state, and that's just, it's a horrible way to live, So, but there were benefits, like I was talking about, because I was doing these regular tests. I could measure, everything that came through me, the way, all of my lifestyle habits, all of these different things that I tried. I could see the benefits in or the negatives in every result, so in that respect, I was very lucky, whereas other people are not so lucky. They don't have that access to these blood tests, or these other scans and so on a weekly or monthly basis, even to my nervous state, depression and depression is very easy to fall into, especially when you're going through this kind of sort of situation that I was in. But when you have ADHD as well, depression is very much part of that as well. But there are times where I was very angry, stressed, and so on. Like it gets to you, and like I said, being tied to a hospital, having to make every decision about your lifestyle, coming down to the proximity of a hospital sort of thing, that can be very aggravating. But again, when you learn to control your breath, you can learn to control your autonomic nervous system as well. And even in that point and just on that basis has really been a huge help to me. So okay, let's go through some of these. Thank you, Annabelle. Well, I know we're not going through the same situation, but I know what it's like, to live with so much stress and pain and so on. So, and I feel for you. It's not something we should have to live through. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really do. I think I feel frustrated that I'm not better than what I am. Yeah. Yeah, we all go through that frustration, mate. Yeah, I probably forget how much progress I've made. Yeah. That's very easy to do, though. It's very easy to forget just how much progress you've made, and it's very easy to get frustrated with the fact that you're just not where you want to be. It's not that you're not where you should be; it's where you're not where you want to be. And that's the frustration. It was like, for example, when I was stuck in, like, when I had zero energy, I couldn't, like, there was a point where I was barely awake. I could barely stay awake for like half an hour. Like, and I had zero energy. I couldn't get off the bed at all. It didn't bother me so much that I was stuck in bed, because I just didn't have the energy to do anything anyway. But then as you start to recover, as you start to gain more energy, and you still can't get off the bed, sort of thing, that is incredibly frustrating. And you feel like you're not where you should be, but like I said, it's really not where you should be, because your body is going to be where it is. Just it's going to take time to heal. The problem is that you're not where you want to be. So it's a good idea, like you said, just have a look at the progress that you have made. Think back to where you started, and yeah, it might be some time, but really, you have to give your body that time to really do what it needs to do. Basically, like I said, you can speed things up with these modalities that I do, right? That I talk about, these 8 modalities. They do help things to progress a lot faster. But at the end of the day, your body can only do so much. Right? Even overstimulation can be a bad thing. So if you do too much of a good thing, that can still be a bad thing. It can be too much too soon. And I've done that many times. I've always been very, I suppose, like, I've always liked doing sports, and I've always pushed myself. Sometimes I've most of the time I've pushed myself a lot, like too much, actually. I overtrained a lot. I would push myself to lift, for example, weights that I shouldn't have. Even though I could perform it, sometimes it's not a good thing, and you get tears and things like that. You get injuries and so on. So I think I do believe that it's good to push yourself, but only to a certain point. You can't go. I mean, it's really difficult to tell sometimes, but you can't push yourself past the limits that your body will allow at that time, you know. So, but you will get there, Annabelle. You will. Perfectly said, Annabelle. Yes. I remember the day I had a big juicy steak when I had severe chronic fatigue syndrome. If only I knew I didn't need veggies. Yeah, I know. Um, yeah, like, see, like the only reason I came to that basically is because when I did first start trying to eat solid food again, which was some time after the transplant. Like I said, I couldn't eat veggies or fruit or anything. It literally burned my mouth because I was so sensitive, like everything, because I had so many different layers of skin coming off. It was just all this new skin, and even all on my mouth, even on the outside, I had layers of flesh just peeling off of me, you know. Excuse me. And that made me super sensitive, you know, because I'd just been cooked basically. So I just couldn't eat the veggies, you know, or the fruit or anything else, even carbs. Like we even tried pizza, right? Because of, you know, everyone thought I was dead by Christmas anyway, so it didn't really matter what I ate, right? But I couldn't eat it. Like one bite into a pizza and it burnt my mouth. Like it felt like acid, you know. I think probably because of the tomato sauce and stuff like that. So it just came down to, well, let's try meat, you know. And like at first, I even had my wife was cutting the meat for me because I couldn't even hold the knife and fork, right? And it took, even just to eat a steak, it took hours, right? Because I just could not get anything down, and but it stayed. But that was great. I felt so much better even just after that, you know. So that's what I just kept doing for a while, you know. Eat the rainbow. Yeah, I hate that shit. Seriously, the bloody rainbow. Unbelievable what we've been going through. You know, the crap that, you know, that's been pushed onto us. It's unbelievably evil. You know, it's absolute evil. I want Jordy to go get tests. She's been, not sure how to say, but I feel she has high blood pressure, but she's only 20. Yeah, yeah. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what age you are. You know, stress and high blood pressure could be. It's a big thing. That actually is why Konstantin Bateko actually started doing breath restriction work. Actually, because he was suffering from a high blood pressure. He was only 29, and the doctors in the that he saw at the time said that he'd be dead in 12 months because of his high blood pressure. And basically what it came down to was that, one, he was mouth breathing, okay, which causes high blood pressure. And that in itself elevates your nervous system, which is going to elevate your heart rate, which is going to elevate your blood pressure. And it just keeps on rebounding because your heart rate elevates. That sends a signal back to your brain. Oh no, fight or flight. And that gets worse. And that just increases the blood pressure again. So it just gets worse and worse and worse. It keeps rebounding off each other, right? So that's what. Oh, we've got a visitor. There we go. Big John. Oh, there we go.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
I'm just going to finish answering this question. So it really doesn't matter how old she is, Josephine. First thing I would do is look at the way she breathes. Okay, that might be a problem. Okay, even while she's sleeping and so on. So, but yeah, I should go get it tested as well. So how you been doing, man? You're on mute.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. Thanks. Went to visit Joe this weekend.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we had lots of food and went to cinema. Watched a film called Ready or Not 2. Bit like Hunger Games kind of thing.
Okay.
You'd like it. It's quite. It's about like the global elite, how they take over. There's like one spot on the table left for someone to sort of like fit and be a world leader sort of thing. This girl gets slipped up in it all, and yeah, won't reveal the rest. But yes, I quite enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
Pretty good. Yeah, how about you? How you doing?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Yeah, been a busy week, but yeah, it's getting on top of it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
let me just check this. Oh my gosh, I did that for a week. That was so glad. Yeah, you're doing so well. Oh, okay, thanks, Josephine. I really appreciate that. I feel scattered. I feel so scatterbrained from stress or move. Yeah, I couldn't remember how long I cooked my lamb. Yeah, it goes through that. You know, stress does that to everyone, really. When you elevate your nervous system like that, it's really hard to think clearly, and you forget things and all sorts of stuff. Hey, Joe, how you doing? Good to see you. How do you go? Okay, just trying to catch up with these. Doing good. Excellent. 18 kilos. 18 kilos is amazing. That's great. I couldn't walk up and down 3 steps last year. That's right, Annabella. Yeah, couldn't walk up 3 steps last year. It would hurt so bad. When I went high fat, I could start to walk up the steps. Very good. Yeah, that is incredible. 18 kilos is incredible. I couldn't hang up my washing. I forget that I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't do that until last. Yeah, that's good, Annabella. So you are making progress. I know, like I said before, it's difficult to see the progress sometimes because especially if you think about now, you're not where you want to be. Right? Doesn't mean you're not where you should be, though. So you're doing well. Never like salad. Yeah, I've never been big on salads either. Yeah, I think just bloody rabbit food. Yeah, that's a good question. Why are salads pushed so much on women? It's kind of like you see it on every kind of movie or TV show. It's like, I'll just have the salad. Yeah, trying to watch my weight. Yeah. So where are we? Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Justin.
Hello.
Lamb isn't cooked. Thankfully, very good. Walked up 5 steps last week. Very good. Hey, progress is progress. This goes to Jonathan. You might have an opinion on this as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sorry if I'm a bit quiet, by the way. I've got a bit of I'm a bit bunged up. I've got hay fever, I think. So I don't want to be like coughing and breathing all over the microphone,
No, you're good. You're good, man. Yeah. She wants Jordy to go get some tests because she has high blood pressure and she's only 20. So, you got an opinion on that?
I mean, it can happen. It depends if the person's overweight or not, really. That's probably one of the things. Are their kidneys under strain?
Yep.
Is it that they've got high blood pressure because they're overweight, maybe? Or is it because their kidneys are under strain, they've got some kind of impingement, I guess, or infringement on the kidney system? I don't know. I'd need more information, really, but I'd say just get a blood test anyway. They're pretty innocuous, other than a bit of a sting in the eye arm.
Yeah, that's right.
There's probably more benefit to having it than not. You might test other things as well. You might be able to have an idea of where you're at now, and down the line it can give you a bit of a trend. Like I'm having a quite a detailed kidney function test November this year, so after all my competitions are done. So I spoke to the nephrologist and he's like, I know you're going to do what you're going to do. You're probably going to do it the safest way you can. Rather than just sort this out now, let's go down the line and see what things are like then. At least then you can plot like a trend, a progression. My my kidney function has actually improved over the years. So that's with using PEDs being enhanced for high protein diets. Something's going right, I guess.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I agree with all that. But I'm actually doing another test on the 15th, I think it is.
Oh, geez.
I'll be doing the same. I'll be doing like full bloods and kidney tests and so on. But I'm the same though. My kidneys have improved dramatically actually over the years, over the last 10. I mean, it couldn't get it much worse from where I started. Like just one kidney working at 12%. So I mean, they've done really well. In fact, like my left kidney was literally like the size of a pea. It's kind of more like the cheerleader for the right one, really. Didn't do anything else. But they've both much better. So even though on a high protein diet.
My kidneys are slightly larger, but that's to compensate for the high protein diet. Really, it's just an adaptive mechanism. It's like you go to the gym. I mean, I've always said kidneys are like a muscle. They adapt to whatever stimulus you give to it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like the kidneys are very much like a muscle. They will grow, same as like heart, liver, everything else will grow with the right diet, I guess. So or the right activity. So when they say, I mean, larger than average kidneys doesn't mean that it's according to who and to who, to what, compared to what, like Bart says. So if they've worked well.
Yeah, kidney disease is a massive health problem. I mean, it doesn't get, we talk about obesity, cancer, things like that, but it's heart disease, but we never really talk about like kidney health. That's one of the main drivers of death, Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So I used to have it. He lost me. I'm glad, Annabella. I really am glad. I know you try hard. I mean, we all do. So, but it's the thing is that in itself, like you are trying, okay, is that puts you like ahead of 90% of people, right? Most people don't even bother trying. So, that puts you ahead of the curve. Yeah, it's not like women don't have periods. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, men go through monthly cycles too, where they their nervous state sort of they get stressed and tired and so on as well. But luckily we don't have the extra stuff that goes with it. Oh, I did get one numbers top 148 over 89. Wow. Okay. Too bad. Large girl, big chest, hurts her back. But some days she looks thinner. Can inflammation make that much of an impact? I think inflammation can make that much of an impact.
I think it's the cause of it.
Yeah,
from a mechanistic, simplistic standpoint, it probably is the cause.
Yeah. So, there's a number of things going on there. Being big chested too, I find that women who have a larger chest, obviously they've got a lot of weight on their chest as well. They tend to overexert their breathing as well. 9 times out of 10 they're going to be mouth breathers as well. They'll breathe through the mouth a lot because they are overexerting themselves. It's the same as like people who are pushing themselves in the gym or anywhere else. If they exercise and they start mouth breathing because it's easier, right? So large, you got a big heavy chest, and that's going to happen as well. So that's something I would look at as well.
Yeah,
it's a quick, easy fix. It's one of those quick, easy things.
Yes, I mean, practical advice, DC, is it's going to be carnivore diet regardless. I mean,
for sure.
Come to us with any question. It's like I can't think of a disease pathology where a carnivore diet wouldn't benefit it.
No, that's right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point, isn't it? Because it doesn't matter what you are suffering from. The carnivore diet is always it's never going to make it worse, right?
Yeah,
And improving,
if you got,
improving the way you eat, improving the way you breathe, and taking on a few other things. These are only going to make things better for you. So it's always going to come down.
We can test all these. I mean, Josephine, we can test all these things in a blood test.
Yeah.
You might have, high CRP, low EGFR. Your BMI might be, what it's worth, I don't know, 40 or something. Regardless of what you do, every single one of those things can be resolved by a carnivore diet. So
yeah, exactly. A friend is heading to a doctor today. She's a new mum with known chemical imbalances and thyroid issues. She's been eating 1,000 calories, low carb. I've told her she needs to eat more and protein first. Yeah, she definitely needs to eat more. It depends on what, I mean, don't get me wrong, like protein is really important, but you need to have your fats as well. Yeah, that's like 1,000. Like, obviously we don't work on calories, but generally speaking, 1,000 calories is pretty much not enough food for anyone, really.
was it like probably 100? Well, in the best case scenario, maybe 100 protein and what is that, 80 fat or something?
Yeah,
maybe less, maybe 60 fat. So I don't know, maybe 80 protein and 90 fat. That's a starvation soup salad diet, really, isn't it? Really, it's not. It's not a food diet.
No.
Yeah.
No, even if it's low carb, that's just not enough food in general at all.
Yeah, I don't have anyone personally below about 150 protein that I coach. Now, let's say it was a frail person, very thin, low activity, maybe 100 grams, maybe. Even then, 100 grams if we're using calories.
Yeah.
Protein is 400 calories. And it's usually a 1-to-1 ratio of protein to fat. So we're looking at,
Yeah. And that'd be a starting point too, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So you would,
sure.
Yeah, there'd be a starting point, and then you sort of work to build them up. Yeah.
I mean, with this sort of thing, what I'll probably look into is I've got some videos on this, like leptin reset protocol. First meal of the day, been about half an hour to an hour of waking up, high protein, high fat, satiating, whole animal foods ideally. The rest of the day, I mean, a lot of people do 2 meals a day in our sort of space, especially if they're not eating much. They're not going to want to have 3 tiny little meals. So maybe second meal about lunchtime or in the evening, whenever it works for her. Similar sort of principle, maybe a bit less food. In terms of like proteins and fats, I mean, you want to try and scale them up together. So, as you add on the extra 10 grams of protein every week, or whatever it happens to be, so that looks like half a small chicken breast. You add that onto each day, each week. Every few weeks, you've got up to 150 grams. Then what would have happened is your mitochondria would have upregulated. You've actually got material tissue to build new tissue. You'll be more tolerant of the world around you. You're not going to be injured as much. You're looking at better melatonin signaling, which coincides with like leptin signaling. You want to feel full. You don't want to be sat there starving, hungry, because sometimes you have to feel full to get the metabolic uptick. So, for example, after a contest preparation, I naturally do a steady incline of food from the day I finish the competition. And it might not be much. It might be, say hypothetically, I got down to, I don't know, 400 protein and 150 fat. In week 1, I might go up to 170 fat, then 180 the next week, 190. Then what happens is your body composition will stay quite similar, but it will just start to actually gain weight, like muscle fullness.
Yeah.
And when your muscles are full, so that glycogen is full in your muscles, there's then a signal that gets sent to your hypothalamus in the brain, which then says to your body, okay, I'm full, peptide YY is increased. So the satiety peptides, hormones like that, neurotransmitters, dopamine improves, your mood's better, you're sleeping better, serotonin levels get more adequate. Then you go from there and you feel better, you're able to have more output and deal with thyroid issues as well. So thyroid issues, I think, commonly come from people that just chronically undereat, particularly the protein element of it, because protein is where you're going to get the the tyrosine to as a substrate of resource to create thyroid hormone, selenium, iodine. All these cofactors come within the protein itself. So that's why we see a lot of people, they'll do a high-fat carnivore diet, and over time, if the protein's a bit too low, they'll start to feel a bit more sluggish, but they like the initial high because they're in a greater state of fat adaptation, ketosis. So it's a double-edged sword. So with all these things, DC, I mean, as well as I do, like, it's swings and roundabouts. It's not always an uphill climb. Sometimes you have to do something a bit counterintuitive to get your body to sort of get in a better state. So like increasing food. So yeah, I'd like to see this lady get up to, I don't know, say 1,500 calories within the month, probably, if she could.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree, man. Totally agree. Like, you can't. I mean, if you just suddenly start taking like double your food sort of thing, that's just going to go straight through you anyway. It's kind of a bit of a shock to the body. It's the same as like any kind of dietary change. If you're going from like vegan to carnivore, and then it's going to wreck your gut. But it's the same with everything. Like, just increase gently, just a gentle increase each day, and I agree. Like at least 1,500 calories so far, so is what she should be on. So, and that's without knowing what size she is either, and her weight and so on. So, but that's just way too low. I saw the doctor today. My kidneys and liver function is really good. That's awesome.
Brilliant.
That's brilliant. Yeah, most people in Australia do not have good liver function or kidney function, really. But it's a shocking stats. It's a really bad stats here. Like I think it's almost 1 in 2 men in Australia have fatty liver disease. It's half the population of men.
That's quite hard. I mean, the bracket to be diagnosed with that is quite deep. So it's quite a significant thing to have fatty liver disease. It's not like you're a bit fat. You actually have to be quite overboard and eating the wrong stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I see a 4-inch gain from inflammation. I have high blood pressure, and it's kidney related. Yeah. So, what would you do in that situation, John?
I think for her, and she knows. I mean, her issue is partly genetic, but at the same time, you can optimize what you put on this earth to do. So I'd just carry on doing what she's doing with her weight loss. Just try and be methodical about it. Just remember, people that care about you and love you, sort of thing, that they want you to succeed, thrive, and live for a long life. So if you think, you're looking in the cupboard and you've got, she doesn't, but she had like a box of cookies, just bin them, chuck it away. That's what I'd probably say. Make sure she has measured goals. So if, for example, she's lost 100 pounds over, say, a year, she knows, okay, maybe take off 20% of that, because obviously you lose a bit of water weight. So say you lose 80 pounds over a year, but then you think, okay, I don't want to lose 80 pounds, too much. So you want to lose 20. So you divide a year by 4, so you should be able to lose 20 pounds in 3 months. That's quite a good sort of sensible weight loss. Also with, want to be resistance training as well, keep things as healthy as you can. Because otherwise you just end up looking like crap, quite honestly. So, Just measure goals, really.
Yeah, that's right. Another thing, like, you get like GPs, for like doctors here, they tell you if you have low kidney function, for example, not like when I've had in the past, they keep telling you, drink more water, sort of thing. But I was very inactive. I wasn't doing anything, and I was drinking like 4 to 5 liters of water a day, right? Which is it was just far too much, and that actually contributed. When you're drinking too much water, that will actually contribute to low kidney function as well. So,
natriuresis, too much water, reduction of sodium in the blood, basically. You're just deflating yourself. So people think, drink more water. Yeah, you feel full from it, but it's probably the weakest form of satiety we have, because you can feel full from anything. I could give someone cardboard and they'd feel full. But when you get that nutrient satiety from the food you eat, so you're not necessarily bloated, but you feel your stomach's quite compact, then you're at the point where you're like, oh, I don't fancy more food. That's kind of the bliss point, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and you can feel the difference. Like you can, like even recently, like I've started, like I'll eat a steak and eggs, like not a huge meal, but I can eat a good plate of steak and eggs and go to the gym like an hour or two later, and it just feels very comfortable. Actually, there's no bloating or anything. Whereas if you drink like a lot of water or eat carbs or anything like that, you get that bloating. Um, even on protein shakes, even with protein shakes and like even with eggs mixed into it as well, I used to get that bloating feeling, and it would take me hours before I'd feel comfortable enough to start training again. You know,
I think this is science I'd like to see. I think there's a certain like nutrient density versus food volume
yeah,
sort of study we could be doing. So like how much protein, fat, or carbs, or whatever, in whatever space of food, is appropriate versus what is overflow. Like it's like me having a pound of steak and being like, well, I'm full. I'm going to then drink a liter of water. It's like, is that then a bad thing for the body? So I'm guessing it obviously comes down to just eating, animal foods because they have the right ratio of water to.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it would be interesting, wouldn't it? Best part, I have never wanted to quit. Well, that's good. That's good, Josephine. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing too. Like, it's very. I think as long as you do it right. I think the carnivore diet itself is very easy to stick to. Really, um, sure, some people might add things in, like they'll fall off the wagon, so to speak, and they'll eat some sweets or some fruit or something every now and then. But the volume of meat is very easy to stick to that because it's so comfortable and satiating. I think that comes down to the nutrient density like you're talking about there as well. So generally speaking, not everyone, but generally speaking.
Yeah.
I'm going to devour this lamb now. I still need. I'm still needing to learn how to carve meat better. Don't worry about the knife and fork, Annabella. Just hoe into it. Just pick it up by the bone and hands. Yeah. A lady at my church is pre-diabetes and still eating. Yeah, they are all. I mean, like I said, actually, my uncle died last year from diabetes because he was the same. He was diabetic for like 20 plus years, I think even longer. But he refused to give up the junk food and the alcohol. He was an alcoholic as well, so it's just. But in the end, he sat down in his armchair and went. Didn't just died. I think it was heart attack, but diabetes induced.
Yeah.
She don't believe me. That's why I'm trying hard to lose weight to see it does work. Yeah, to show them that. I mean, that's all you can do. Like I mean, especially people closest to you. They are the hardest to convince, and so you really just have to do it for yourself, and they will learn from your results, sort of thing. But some people may never wake up. Like I've got people around me that still don't believe, that what I do makes any difference, even though I'm like 11 and a half years in remission and I'm fitter and healthier than most of them now anyway.
You just got lucky, DC.
Yeah, I just got lucky. Yeah, that's all. It boggles the mind, honestly. It really does. Uh, yeah. Yeah, Geordie, big night last night. A guy was left in a wheelchair out front. She had to call ambos. She said he had yellow skin. I'm like that. Yeah, that's kidneys. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, you get I think it's jaundice that does that to you as well. In the kidney, you get bad kidney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very common in hospital and as in the palliative care ward. Lots of people with it's like a yellowy green skin, look weird. You spotted it from a mile away, So
yeah, I was like that when I was born, actually, because my parents actually induced me 5 weeks early, and I didn't because of that. I didn't have proper organ development, so I got jaundice, and my kidneys were really bad. So my kidney problems started from birth. Of course, no one knew that until recently, but anyway. So I was yellow for one of these, I think it's a good 6 months after I was born.
That's unfortunate. Look at you now.
Yeah, it's still going. Yeah. So, the lady on the phone said Jordan did well taking control as his mate came back and tried to get in the road. I understand why she was angry at the mate. I would be too. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. So, Jonathan, let's talk about peptides now. This came up. There's someone came up with this question a little while back, actually. I think it was George, actually, but it's like, what are peptides? Now, peptides are basically just larger groups of amino acids in natural form. But synthetic peptides are on the market now in various other countries. We're not allowed to get them here in Australia because they're considered, or they haven't been what they call a TGA approved sort of thing. But there's a number of interesting things about these synthetic peptides, and you were talking about, I think you take a couple, yeah? So you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, which ones do you want me to talk about? What were you most interested in?
Well, anything that, what are some of the benefits that you get from, I know there's all these different numbers, I'm not exactly sure just how many there are, but there's always a new one popping up. So, for example, just health in general, like metabolic health wise, what kind of peptides do you think that are available, and do you think they're beneficial?
There's quite a few, and it's quite hit or miss depending on which peptide an individual person uses. If, for example, DC, you sleep really well and your REM sleep is excellent, your sleep score, for what it's worth, is 100 or whatever, then you're not going to get benefit from using delta sleep inducing peptide. You can't optimize what already is optimized. So it's not much use to you. But then if you said to me, want to increase my exercise capacity, my endurance, you might use something like MOTS-C. So that is MOTS-C. Basically, what they found was these different peptides are created by the body naturally. Not all of them that are sold are, but the ones that a lot of people talk about kind of are. What they find is certain things will elevate in response to sleep, digestion, your appetite goes up. All these effects. So we found like GLP-1, responsible for appetite signaling. MOTS-C is a myostatin inhibitor, actually, believe it or not. So that means it reduces the amount of, it allows the body to increase muscle mass without a limitation, but that's only time and size specific. It's quite nuanced in a sense. So that means if you're using a drug, if you're using a peptide such as MOTS-C to increase exercise capacity, your mitochondria are going to work more efficiently. Your blood glucose level is going to lower over time because you're putting less of a burden on your body. So a lot of these things are kind of transitional. So if someone's going from an unhealthy state to a healthy state, these things can be add-ons. So when a person is in an unhealthy state, obviously the mitochondria aren't functioning properly. They're not able to process energy effectively, which means the genetic system, genetic makeup for our DNA can't be espoused properly, if that makes sense. So we can't do your thing the optimal way that we would have been born to do if we had a fresh, clean slate of health sort of thing. So the idea is we use these peptides to bridge a gap, like a bracket between a person who can't exercise and a person that can walk. So, that's obviously an obvious scale sort of thing. But the idea is it allows you to sort of execute the function that you're trying to do without having the negative feedback loop that you normally would. So, for example, you might feel winded, so you might use a peptide like MOTS-c to increase exercise capacity. So therefore, you're going to have better oxygenation of the body, more endurance, possibly more muscle fiber activation. So you're just working more effectively as a human being. So that's just one example. Then there's other things like BPC 157. So that's a very common one. They actually found that in, I think it might have been pigs. They found it in the enteric system, the gastrointestinal system of different animals. I think it was pigs though. What they found is in response to food, acid levels go up in the body, in the gut, to break down the food. But our acid in our body is strong enough to penetrate our stomach wall. So what does that mean? We should be effectively just melting our bodies, but BPC 147 comes in. So at the same rate at which our stomachs are acidifying themselves, it's repairing the inner mucosal layer of the stomach. Then therefore you've got, less toxins coming into your blood, sort of thing. So it's a bit like a barrier, a membrane builder sort of thing. So they find all these levels in the body and the blood will increase exponentially in response to eating food or in certain situations. So that's how they found all of these peptides. Find something, put it in the peptide list. Oh, what's this? We found a lot of this in this. Now let's do an experiment. Let's see what happens when we put it in this situation or that situation. Let's see if people or animals or rodents will get benefit. So that's BPC 157, but it does lots of things. So basically, most of the tissues in the body are they're programmable. Even our genes can be. I'd say genetics probably make about 50% of our longevity and health span. We can sort of titrate, we can teeter the body to go in a certain direction. So people with diabetes might benefit from a GLP-1 drug, maybe. But there'll also obviously be side effects of those sort of drugs. But the thing is, it allows you to help bridge a gap with, if it's your appetite that's causing the diabetes, then if you're by default decreasing the amount of food you're taking in, you've then got a long-term benefit. Basically, when your body is primed, healthy, no issues, no illness, no sickness, nothing like no disease, no pathologies, then everything that your genetics have created you up to this point to do as a human being is going to execute that blueprint in your DNA, how it transcribes gene expressions to do a certain task in the best way possible. So it's not like you can take every peptide and be the best human. It will just allow you to get to the peak that you can be a little bit more effectively. And people notice, I believe it's 30 to 40% faster wound healing if using, I think it's TB 500 or BPC 157, I can't remember which one. So you can think from a health perspective, if these peptides weren't such short chains and they're longer lasting in the body, and they didn't require daily or twice daily dosing, then from a practical sense, you have your knee surgery, you cut open, you then have a TB 500 injection shot once every week, you recover 30-40% faster, you can get back into sports and stuff a lot quicker. So that's basically the benefit of it. Is it doesn't make you superhuman, but it makes you better than what you could be if you're in a less optimal state, I believe.
All right. So I think, did you say BP 157? That or was it MOTS-c actually doesn't restrict your muscle growth, then, so you can just keep on growing?
Yeah. So
would that be considered a steroid?
No, not quite. So it doesn't work on the androgen receptor. Do you remember Bart Case to talk about how things were lots of genetic expressions, cogs, enzymes, lots of things, like you move one thing and another thing has to move.
Yeah.
Because you can't just have one. You can't have testosterone at 1,000. You have estrogen or DHT, for example.
For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So if this MOTS-c is allowing you to exercise at a 20% better rate, in terms of endurance, I don't know, then your body is going to be able to need to adapt 20% more to what you're doing. Yeah. So if you're getting a 1% increase in your mile normally, or if you're doing a 4-minute mile, then you're doing a 3-minute, 30-second mile, and that's whatever percentage off. then your body's going to need extra percentage of recovery capacity. So to do that, it might lower myostatin somewhat. So therefore, the level or the amplitude at which the gains and the adaptation process can occur will be just about 20% greater, or whatever it happens to be. So that's how it works. It's not like you inject it, all of a sudden you start growing 20-inch arms. It'll just facilitate whatever adaptation you need to do.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. So
Yeah.
what are some of the side effects then?
Side effects. So most of the side effects involve around human error and injection technique.
Yep.
And because they are naturally occurring in the body, once they're in the body, your body will have a way to get rid of them naturally. I believe in pretty much any situation. But where the problem lies is if you're injecting it, if you use the wrong pH of water, if you use something that's not sterile, a blunt needle, I don't know, if you inject into a vein and you rupture a vein, stuff like the mechanical human sort of problems. They're the sort of issues that kind of lie. But
So
then
there's
again,
intramuscular injections then?
Yeah, so most people do them subcutaneously.
Okay.
They'll last a bit longer in the body, marginally. I prefer to go intramuscular because I hate having little lumps or balls under my skin.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can get these like granular sort of you can feel them like in between your fingers, like if you do an injection, but they do disperse eventually. But it's just I'd rather not have them. That's just something that's unique to me, maybe. But yeah, I prefer to do it intramuscular. And then at the same time, like in terms of side effects, it depends on what kind of peptide it is and what it's doing in the body. So if you're taking a GLP-1 drug and that involves food, eating, your appetite, food is an essential thing. So if you move something in that spectrum of order or function in the body, or change something, adapt it in some way, and that'll have a greater downstream effect somewhere else, just because of the mechanism of the drug. Whereas if you use something which is just acute, like delta sleep-inducing peptide, but you find a benefit from it, and that's a short-acting drug, and it has a good efficacy rate, very low side effect rate, then yeah, you can use that more with a bit. Well, I wouldn't say to use it with less care, but you wouldn't have to be so worried as if you're opposed to using semaglutide or Wegovy or something.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a number of these things on the market. Like, for different purposes. I mean, like in Australia, like I said before, we can only get these things for research purposes, and there's a whole list of them. So, BP157, like obviously, like membrane building in the stomach. Obviously, if that's repairing the stomach lining so quickly, does that relate to other tissue around the body? Does that actually help repair the tissue?
Yeah, so there's a bit of contention around this topic. So most bodybuilders, well, a lot of bodybuilders nowadays in the enhanced athlete world are using peptides to some degree.
Yeah.
There's not really a hard rule or guideline of whether or not it has a specifically localized or systemic effect, but anecdotally what people do say is that an oral capsule of BPC-147 will help more of the gut lining as opposed to just the injection. The dosage profile is about the same, so 1-to-1 milligrams or whatever it might be per day. The BPC-147, people say to inject it more closely to the site that you're trying to improve recovery on, but it is a systemic peptide, so once it gets in your bloodstream it will be released, but some people will still try and inject it nearer to the area that they're trying to target, just because it might do a bit more, but there's no one really knows because there's not been studies on it, sort of thing.
Yeah, I suppose it would be difficult to say. I mean, anything that, especially if you're like liquid form, you're injecting anything, it'd be difficult for it to actually stay in that area, I would imagine.
Yeah, it bugs around your body in like 10 seconds. I mean, if you have a dye put in your veins or thing in your arm, 10 seconds to a minute, it's already been through your brain and everything,
Yeah, so. Right. So, yeah, exactly. That's cool. So, I mean, obviously you take this BP157.
Yeah.
Is that the only peptide that you use?
I use quite a few. So some of the ones I mentioned, so MOTS-C, BPC 147, TB 500. God, Delta sleep inducing peptide. All of these, I don't use all of them all the time. It's more of like a as and when I feel it sort of thing. So these sort of things you can get the benefit from. Yes, you can use them all the time. Some for all of them. But it's not like you have to build it up in your body for it to have an effect.
Yeah.
The only exception is very long-acting peptides like the GLP-1 drugs. So I use retatrutide, which is a free agonist. I don't know, GLP-1, I guess you could say. So it works on the GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon receptors. I use that mostly for inflammation because there's a subtle benefit from that. Other than that, I find that I like to think it's doing some background stuff because since I've been using it, I've had incrementally improving blood test results.
Okay.
So I've seen blood work, which suggests to me that's been helping. And I'm using it more of a background drug. I'm not using it for strong appetite suppressants.
Yeah.
So yeah. Other than that,
wouldn't that? I mean, that in itself, like retatrutide, is as an appetite suppressant. Is that in your lead up to competition, or is that year round? Because that wouldn't that sort of work against you? I mean, you want to eat as much as you can.
Yeah, that's a good question. So for me, I find it helps with addictive behaviors. And I'm someone that can sit there and drink like, I don't know, 4 liters of Pepsi Max in a day if I put mine to it. Or vape or chew gum a lot. So I find it helps reduce that kind of urge to do things like habitually that are probably not so healthy for me. Other than that, I do notice a benefit in terms of like appetite suppression, but there's like a threshold that I found. It's about 2 milligrams per week and below keeps my appetite fine, so I can eat what I need to eat in a day to progress or whatever it is. In a contest prep phase, yeah, you probably would use slightly higher sort of doses. And in a healthy body, the GLP-1 levels are much more appropriate, I guess you could say. Whereas if I was, 300 pounds, and I might have to use double the dose to get the same sort of effect. So,
yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I suppose like the same with anything. Like there's always a threshold. You have to find that sort of benefit to sort of negative effect sort of ratio there. So. That makes sense, and especially like if it helps with it, like addiction and things like that. I mean, especially when you are, especially in your situation, stuck at home a lot too. It's very easy to keep these addictions alive. You get stuck on social media or vaping or soda drinks and so on. So yeah, that's fair enough. Cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people benefit from it. It's just finding the dose and also accepting. If you're going to use that. It's a temporary thing, or like you said, like last night you said a bridge, or using it as just a complete filler. So these sort of things you don't sort of use these things willy-nilly. Make sure you do your research first if you're listening.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's right. You don't go into these things blind. You don't just start shooting up or taking pills just to, I mean, that happens. With a lot of people. Everyone thinks, oh, this is good, like or any kind of supplement, doesn't matter what it is, and anyone says, "Oh, this burns fat," and they'll swallow the whole damn jar in a week, sort of thing. It's just because it's crazy. But
then it gets banned.
Yeah, and then it gets banned. Yeah, exactly, because they overdosed, and this person overdosed. No one told them to take 150 pills in a week, sort of thing.
That's it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a mad bloody world, honestly. So I mean, the benefits that you've seen. Has that been since you started taking these peptides? So with your kidney benefits and blood markers, is that just since you started taking it? You've changed nothing else?
I mean, my off season's pretty much the same in terms of food and output. It's just the food will gradually increase. I've started my diet Monday this week, so I'm back on the way back down in terms of weight now. But I'd say yes, just because even when I've had blood tests before, if levels are up and down a bit. I might not have seen the trend I have seen since using them. So I've seen an actual trend, like overall, where things are just generally quite a bit better. So things like the liver function ones, the liver benefits have been a great help, I think. So I've never actually, I had glandular fever twice in my life. I had a virus at one point, I think it's 2017. That basically wrecked my liver and kidney, so my values were off the charts. I was, peeing black. If I was going to the loo, it was the most bizarre experience of my life. Didn't seem human, put it that way. And yes, I've always had like slightly elevated ALT, AST enzymes in my blood markers. Now recently I've just had, I think the last 2 sets of results, I've had them like mid normal. That's never happened before, so I don't know. But my next experiments are going to be on ones which help modulate the immune system, so that could yield a more of a benefit, but I don't know. But what I'd like to know, I think the problem with peptides is we might experience a benefit. Our fear is that if we come off them, that we don't get the benefit. Does it then drop off?
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like when you come off any of these sort of I guess supplements you'd call them, or nutraceuticals and so on. Do you see, is it a long-lasting sort of benefit, or is it just that while you're using them sort of thing? So that would be interesting to see.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's great information, man. Thanks.
No worries. Yeah. Hopefully it gives some people some information that they might benefit from.
I think it's so always good to get. It's always good to find. I mean, it's always great to find new information, but it's always good to get both sides of the argument as well. And it's, I mean, I know a lot of people have very different point of view or sort of perspective on these things, but I mean, especially when a lot of these things hit the market, like the first, the sort of like GLP-1s, for example, they can cause a lot of problems. But again, like we always, we all just finished saying too, people did like say, oh, this is going to burn fat sort of thing. So like they just want like a mega dose in 1 week, and then fat's gone sort of thing. And of course they do a lot of damage. So that's the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's always good to find out. Like it'd be interesting to try some of these things too, actually. Because I mean, I do regular blood tests. I would like to measure that myself, actually.
What blood markers for you do you think could be more optimal?
Well, my kidney function could be more optimal. That's, I mean, it's not bad now. It has improved dramatically. But even including like platelets and all these markers are still now in the normal healthy range, but they're still lower than like most people would be, or most healthy people would be anyway. So I still have to deal with low EPO, low red blood cell count, low white cell count, and low stem cells and so on, platelets and etc.
I see. There's three I would look at. There's three I'd look at for you. So MOTS-C is one of them. SS31, I think you mentioned before. And the third one is thymosin alpha 1, so TA1. That would help a lot with the immune function, I think. I mean, the SS31 is probably the most expensive. But it does have like pretty hard evidence on like improving kidney health. So
okay, I'll have a look. I'll see if I can wrangle something. Maybe when I get to Japan, I might be able to get these. Might be able to access
to find them somewhere.
Yeah. So pretty harsh. Actually, they're pretty harsh on people. That they'll give them jail sentences to buy them if you buy them here in Australia. So
there's one other country like that. I think it's a Scandinavian country. I can't remember which one. I think it might be Denmark or Norway. Basically, if you go to a gym and you look like you take steroids, they'll literally take you out of the gym and force you to have a blood test just to prove if you are or not aren't take, or urine test or whatever. And they're very strict in it. They're like it's seen like cocaine.
Wow.
Like these PEDs,
I mean, the world is what it is. I guess there's nothing to do about it right now.
Yeah.
But geez, it just
I'll
it
see
blows your mind,
I'll
though,
see if
doesn't
I
it?
can link you. I'll see if I can link you somewhere maybe.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
My mate just had a complete waste of time talking to her GP. Yeah, that's usually what happens. They waste their time.
All 4 minutes.
Yeah, she usually. Yeah, exactly. You only get about 4 minutes with them, don't you?
Yeah.
So glad she got the advice she needed from you. Oh, you're very welcome, Joe. Yeah. Good to see you, Sandy. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Jasmine. Hi, David. Very good. Excellent. So, I mean, as far as I don't know, performance enhancing, I mean, there's a number of things out there. I mean, a lot of people do take things like steroids. How would you compare these peptides to steroids?
I'd compare them like the same way I'd compare medication to peptides. So, or maybe how I'd compare medication to like herbal supplements. So, a herbal supplement will give a hormetic response to signal the body to do something a bit more than what it usually does.
Yeah.
Medication will force it to do what it should normally do. So, if you take turmeric, whatever, for pain, it might reduce pain through reduced inflammation, but there's a rate limiting factor. You're not going to get even less pain by taking 10 times more. But if you take medication, it will just do that thing. It will relieve pain, but obviously there's a lot more side effects. So I compare them the same way. So the peptides will work by signaling the body to do something it should normally be doing, but isn't at the moment. Whereas a medication, a steroid or an anabolic steroid, for example, would force it to do that. So you can, for example, if someone's taking a TRT level of testosterone, which might be 100 milligrams per week, and that left a result of 1,000 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone in the blood. If you then take 10 lots of that, so 1,000 milligrams of testosterone, that could then roughly yield about 10,000 nanograms of testosterone per liter in the blood. But peptide, you could take 1 milligram of MOTS-C, that give you maybe 10% edge in the gym or something. We could take 10 milligrams of MOTS-C and it might only give 15% edge in the gym.
Yeah.
So you see what I mean? It's not scalable. So that there's a threshold you need to reach to the peptide to hit the signal to do the job. But an anabolic steroid is just, you could take 1,000 Dianabol tablets or whatever. You'd probably die, but it will do what 1,000 Dianabol tablets would do.
Yeah, definitely. It'll just force it to happen. Yeah. It's just like a dozer. It's just going to ram everything through your body.
I think Arnold used to do that. He used to say, he used to take a handful of Dianabol tablets, like 5 milligram ones, just put them back with each meal. And I'm like, what? And he used to do that for like 3-4 months straight. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And now he's, of course, well, I should not get up. He's an asshole.
No,
he's a complete asshole.
He's not too healthy.
No, that's right. And it's like, I mean, he's just such a lying shit too. Like he's when a few years back when at the Arnold Classic, like one of these athletes won, and it's like you can see like the difference in size compared to the 70s, right? They're huge now. Like they look like grotesque sort of like Hulk sort of comic characters sort of thing. And he's like when these athletes were arrested for steroids and all these other things that they were running, because they were actually dealing in them as well. They weren't just taking them; they were also dealing them. He's like, "Oh, I had no idea they were taking steroids." It's like, yeah, no one buys that shit. Like seriously, like they're twice the size of Arnold. They're shorter and twice the size, and it's like, "Oh, I had no idea." Yeah, bullshit. He didn't.
Well, Sly, Stallone, he got caught, I think, in Australia with like, don't quote me because I don't know how much, but it was like several £1,000s worth of growth hormone, like vials or something. Like, what's someone going to do with that? It's obviously for him or his mates or something, But they all use it, guys. If you're watching the Olympics, you think Mo Farah or Paul Radcliffe or I don't know, Freddie Flintoff or I don't know who else is there.
Oh,
Eddie
they all
Hall.
do.
They all use drugs, all of them, and there's no reason why they wouldn't. There's no reason stopping them for not
No,
doing
that's
it
right.
because they get a lot of help out with stuff.
The only ones that get caught at the Olympics, for example, are the poor teams that don't pay off the judges enough. That's all. Like it's the same
It
way.
does pretty much work that way, yeah.
Especially like track sprinters and all the rest of them, they're all the same. And to perform at that level, because obviously everyone else does, they have to. I mean, they do take these performance enhancing drugs, but even on top of all that, like the times that they get, it's not that impressive compared to like 100 years ago. So yeah,
I'm looking forward to the enhanced games DC in I think it's in May this year, I think, in Las Vegas.
Enhanced games? I haven't heard of that. What is it?
So they can use, I think all bets are off and they can use whatever they want basically, I think, but they have to have, I think, like a guide or someone that like does their blood testing and health monitoring. So like, yeah, you're gonna see, Hatfield Bjornsson do the deadlift, for example. You're gonna see some swimmer we've never heard of swim whatever distance like in record time. It's going to be very interesting. I mean,
that'd be cool.
I'd think that. I mean, for 100 meters, I'd think they'd get below 9.5 or 9.4.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that would be cool to watch. Actually, I mean, I like watching those sort of games, but there's like actually that's I mean, not talking about performance enhancing, but it'd be quite interesting to see because athletes, when it comes to, they don't care about their health at all. They just want that. They want to win no matter what. I mean, it doesn't matter what it takes, sort of thing. They have that kind of mentality. And it's just, I don't know, it's just the mind's, the state of mind, I guess. They just have to win. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that, you can do a lot of damage to yourself. But that kind of reminds me that, like they have that Ninja Warrior sort of thing that goes around the world. Well, that all started in Japan, and it's called Sasuke, right? But they used to have a strongman version. It used to be like, now it's mostly built on climbers basically that do all this climbing stuff. But they used to have this strongman version of it as well. So like for all the big guys, they used to have all just like pretty much just like the strongman competition actually. They have the barrel toss and things like after this big, keg toss and stuff.
Yeah.
Pushing weight, so like all these big guys would be in, and like some of them were really huge, actually, really big. And I mean, none of them get tested. They don't get. There's no drug test or anything like that for Sasuke or anything like that in Japan.
Yeah.
So, it was really interesting to watch. It was a lot of fun. I mean, they eventually cancelled that one, the big one. I mean, the Sasuke for the climbers is still there, but for the strongman version, it was really cool because you'd see some pretty outrageous sort of things, because they're obviously taking. I mean, there's a big guy. Some of these are Olympic athletes, and like Japan had this guy who was their hammer thrower, I think. But he was massive. Yeah, like he was 6.5 foot, and like he was big. He was huge. Like for a Japanese guy, like he's just massive.
Yeah, you see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like they were taking a lot of these different performance enhancers and so on, but it was fun to watch though. It was fun. It was good.
Yeah, there's so much out there now, and I mean, as they're mapping out the body and the genes and peptides throughout the body a lot more over time, the drugs will just keep getting better and better. Just like more effective. Better's a subjective term, I guess. But I mean, they've got things now, peptides, which you can spray up your nose. So imagine you're like, oh, I've got to play snooker or darts. You need a peptide to help you concentrate or focus. Snort, we go to the toilet, 5 minutes later, kicks in, 3 darts, get triple, 60, whatever.
That'd be
you won
awesome.
the game. So, yeah, they're very
That
It's
would
very
help with
interesting.
ADHD then too, wouldn't it?
Those would, yeah. I mean, with all those things, it could be a paradoxical effect, but it'd be trial and error. I've
Yeah.
not read any research on those two things. So those ones are called Selank, so Selank, and the other one is Semax, which is Semax. So the dosage is about the same. You can spray them up your nose, you can inject them. Those sort of things would be useful imagine if you've got a bit of anxiety before you're presenting in front of a stage of people or something, or you got something which is like crucial to concentrate on, like a video that's going to make or break your channel sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So actually, you were saying that you took one to help you concentrate a bit better.
Yeah, that was that was a methylene blue and
Oh, that's right, the methylene blue. Yeah.
was that it? I think yeah.
I think you said that methylene blue to help you concentrate. Is that it?
That was it. Yeah. So there's about 5 or 6 mechanisms by which it works. It's an antioxidant in the actual brain.
Yeah.
Does pass the blood-brain barrier effectively. It's electron donor. So from complex 1 to 5, it basically allows the ATP to be created whilst bypassing complex 2, 3, and 4. So you got a more efficient system effectively. There's the main things I can think of. There's a couple more mechanisms, but yeah, I do find it helpful. It's just there are quite a lot of contraindications if you use a lot of medications. I believe it's a monoamine uptake inhibitor, so that could be a problem if you use certain kind of stimulating sort of medications.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I quite like injectable carnitine. I don't often use it, but that's actually quite a surprising drug. Because we always say, carnivore, you get all the amino acids you need, but I noticed natural additive benefit from using that. It works on the fatty acid transport system, so effectively, it's allowing the fatty acids to be converted into energy in the mitochondria. So if you're in a ketogenic state and you use that on top of it, it almost accelerates the process a bit. So if you're going to be doing like a long day of like public speaking or like a long endurance workout, that's when it probably have the most benefit, I believe.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, the only thing about that one is a bastard. Sorry, it is a real bugger to inject because it's high volume, high concentration per volume, so it can sting a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just intramuscular that one as well? Or?
Intramuscular, yeah.
Okay, cool. Jo says she's a huge fan of Netflix's Physical 100 and Physical Asia.
I was going to say,
yeah. Okay. I haven't heard of that either. I'll have to check it out. Yeah.
Well, it's not my cup of tea, I don't think, but it's like a load of people just going nuts to try and win this award or prize or whatever. They're all like ripped out of their mind. Like imagine like 100 Bruce Lees just going nuts.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I mean. Like Sasuke is pretty much the same. Like in Japan, it's very different to like the American or British or Australian Ninja Warrior thing, right?
Yeah.
In Japan, they do all 4 stages in one day. It's in the middle of winter, so it's freezing bloody cold. They usually do it like one big event on New Year's Eve now. Like it used to be like a monthly thing, but now it's pretty much just New Year's Eve. But they have 100 contestants, and most of it's really just about having fun. I mean, for the most part, most of them are just there to fail in the first stage, and it's a good laugh. But even if you get through the 4 stages, and like they're brutal stages, like stage 2, 3, and 4, absolutely brutal. Every one of them has a time limit. If you don't finish in that time, doesn't matter if you finish or not. If you don't finish in that time, you don't get to go to the next stage. So it's very different to like here. Like you can, and like there's no prize money either. There's 0 prize money for winning Sasuke in Japan. All right. Whereas like here in Australia, it's just the glory of it. And here in Australia, it's like $500,000, and I think in America it's like $1 million. It's crazy. But then you have like here in Australia, like or same in America, they if they can get to a certain point by a certain time and they fall in the water or anything like that, they still progress to the next stage,
Mm.
which is a bit soft. But I've never seen a foreigner actually get to the fourth stage and win in Japan. Actually, and it's
Yeah.
brutal. Like it is brutally tough. It's very much geared for climbers, especially like stage 3. It's all climbing, like they have basically fingertip sort of hangs. They have to climb along, and they have to jump from one side to the other, sort of thing, and catch on the same size hang. Like
Oh, bloody hell.
absolutely brutal stuff. Yeah, so they're all very
We
light
were
little.
watching, yeah, we watched Joe and I watching Gladiators the other day. It's quite good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah.
That's all right,
What's
yeah.
that big American guy? He used to be a gladiator. I forget his name. He's very popular on YouTube.
I've known two of the guys that are in the UK, have been in the UK once. So one of them was Jamie Johal, who's Jamie the Giant. He's like 6'6", ex bodybuilder, and the other one is Sam Bond. He was about 15 years ago, but he was I think he was Atlas. I think
Atlas.
Yeah.
Who was? I think. Let me see. Just trying to check. He was.
Blonde guy, long hair, looked
Yeah,
a bit like Thor.
yeah. That's him.
Yeah.
I forget his name. I can't think of his name.
Mm.
Do you remember? Actually, do you remember that guy? He was like really. He was like he was giant. I think they called him Gollum.
No.
Okay, he was big on YouTube for a couple of years, but he died, I think, about 2 years back
Oh
now.
yeah. His name was something like Iliam Gollum or something.
That's it. Yeah, Ilian Gollum. Yeah. Really nice guy, and like he was massive, absolutely massive, one of the biggest bodybuilders in the world. But he was obviously like he's huge on the steroids and so on. But he died of a heart attack a couple of years back. Pretty sad story actually. I thought he was a pretty cool guy actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these people are quite interesting characters and they die. But it's always the most influential people I find. Like do you remember Rich Piana?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he died, and it was a bit like I remember there was like a string for about 10 years where just all these people I knew died, like Greg Plitt, Rich Piana, Dallas McCarver, Boston Lloyd. Like loads of bodybuilders or people that are in that space. Matt Porter, John Meadows, all in like a 10-year span. Like all like the biggest names in the bodybuilding space died. So
yeah. I'm trying to think of this guy. There he is. Mike O'Hearn, that's it. Mike O'Hearn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's his name. I mean, he's a pretty healthy guy, but he said like he takes peptides. He's admitted
It's still natural.
Yeah, Mr. Natural, but he takes peptides. It's kind of funny, like power bodybuilding is his big thing that he says he invented, sort of thing. Everyone calls him Peanut Butter Man.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. Yeah. You described it perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, they're fun to watch those those shows and those events. Like it's sort of. Do you ever feel like you're sort of moving with them when they sort of going through their climbs and you're like,
yeah.
You know?
I think I do in my head a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes you watch him, you're like, oh. Sometimes because obviously you're in the third person watching it, you're like, I could do better than that. And you actually watching it, and you actually imagine doing it yourself. Like this guy just jumped like 6 foot over something. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's putting it into reality. So when you see it on the screen, obviously everything just looks.
Yeah,
especially
when I was living in Japan, I was thinking, oh man, I'm gonna do this. I could cream this, now it starts good, but it gets more difficult every year. And then you see these guys like now stage 3, like they're jumping from like their hangs are like less than, like I think they're like, like a centimeter sort of hangs, like 2 centimeter hangs,
Jeez.
right? They're really small hangs, right? They're crawling along these hangs, and then they jump from one side to the other. It's like about 4 or 5 feet between these jumps, like going and then catching onto those same hangs. It's like there's just no way. it's nuts, But
Can you imagine training for that though as well? Like we see it on the screen, think, oh, that's impressive. It's like that guy would have had to been doing that for like months and months and months to just get to that point.
Yeah.
Imagine how many times he actually fell off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it takes some years to train for this stuff like that. But it's really interesting because when they get down to the nitty gritty athletes that are actually doing this, like second stage, third stage sort of thing, they actually do a bit of a background story. They'll show you like some of them they live in these little tiny apartments, what they call 1K apartments. Yeah, like a 1K apartment in Japan is like a very small studio. It's just one room. It's like all one room. But they'll have hangs all set up around the walls.
Oh, I've seen those
on the ceilings and stuff like that, and they'll be climbing their whole apartment. That's how dedicated they are. It's crazy.
I watch a YouTube channel called, I think it's called Abroad in Japan. You might know about it. Very, very big channel. Like, I'll be quite surprised if you didn't know about it. The guy's basically, I think he's from England. He moved over there, was meant to be some kind of TV show host, star person. He didn't agree with the ethics of it. Started up a YouTube channel. Now he goes around and does like, oh, these are top 10 things to do in this city. This is what a 1K home looks like. All this sort of stuff, and it's fascinating because it's people with like the kitchen built onto a wall.
Yeah.
Then like the bed kind of like comes out the side of the wall.
Yeah.
And they've got like a dining table which goes over the bed, and they sit on the bed to eat their dinner, and it's like their space is like nothing, but they make a lot out of it. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're very good at like utilizing space. I mean, I suppose they really have to. Because there's a lot of part of Japan they can't sort of build on either. I mean, in the cities, some apartments are like that, okay? But they actually do have very much, some nice big homes and Western style sort of houses and land and stuff like that as well. It's not always like that, but the price is reflective as well. Like when I first started living there, I paid $300 a month for rent, right? It's basically nothing. It was really cheap, really cheap. But I had this little apartment. It was considered like a 1K, but it had a loft area, like a climb a ladder to the bed. Oh, yeah. All right. So I actually had like you walk in, you got the toilet on one side, the bathroom on one side, then you've got this like tiny little kitchen, but it had its own little box fridge, kind of like you get in a hotel room. And then it had one sink and 2 cupboards and a cooktop. Right, it's like that. Literally, the kitchen was probably about 1.5 meters long. It was really tiny. And then you walk in, there was a doorway, and you walk into the living room, and above the living room was the loft where the bedroom was. And it was like, it was not, I mean, it's not what I'm used to, but it was enough,
How would you do that for?
Let me see. I think I was there for about a year.
Maybe well done.
A bit over a year.
Much respect for that. That's quite hard work. Yeah. You didn't crack in that time. That's pretty good.
It was still, I mean, it was small, but it was comfortable, and it was cheap. That's what I liked about it. It was really cheap because I wasn't home much anyway. I was always out doing things. So it was it was funny. It was kind of a funny place actually. But I mean, I don't think you could do that here so much because like in Japan, they're very polite about, or they're very aware of the people around them. They're very considerate, So
sure.
You don't get the noise from the neighbors, like these paper thin sort of walls. you never really heard the neighbors or anything like that. There's no one playing loud music, no one having parties or anything like that. You couldn't do that here. You know, like people here would be, I mean, they wouldn't probably put up with the size of it anyway, but they're just too loud. They're really inconsiderate when it comes to the noise they produce, you know. Whereas, yeah, they're very considerate about that in Japan.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I remember I've watched Japanese cultures. Fascinates the life out of me. But I was watching something where they said, like, if you're a noisy person on a train, like say you're talking your phone, or say you've got your phone on, and it's like beep 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 beep, you know, and it makes a beeping tone.
Yeah.
So someone who's like sat next to you, just some random person, be like, "Please, sir, would you be quiet now? It's disrupting my journey." Then they'll stop doing it, and I'm like, I couldn't get away with saying that here. People would give me dirty looks.
Well, I mean, the only trouble, I mean, they have now, I mean, is, you know, obnoxious tourists, you know, who make noise, and especially like now you have this TikTok culture, these young, obnoxious, spoiled brats that go over there and start dancing on the subway and all this sort of stuff. Like these are just people that are trying to go to work and just get on with their day, sort of thing, you know. They're very considerate. Like I said, they are very considerate about the people around them. You know, and generally speaking, they're very quiet. They don't even like people talking loud. Like you can have a conversation, but try to sort of restrict the noise that you make.
That's right. Yeah, whenever I've been to like hot pot or anything, Korean barbecue, anything like that, and usually, obviously, those sort of places are attracted by virtue, you know, Asian people. They're the quietest people. You don't notice they're there.
That's right.
Then when you actually hear yourself, or I think this happened with I think I went off to go to the toilet, and it's just her in there and people around it. And I walked in. I remember walking, and I could hear myself like shuffling on the ground because it's so quiet.
Yeah,
I didn't hear anything. I was like, this is odd. I quite like it. I like the quiet. I love it.
It is good. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, so I mean, it gets really bad. Like it really pisses me off actually when I see these obnoxious tourists that sort of they take the culture of Japan for granted, and they think that they're weak. They won't do anything. They can, while they're traveling, they can do whatever they want, sort of thing. You know, they're just really obnoxious people. But that's the way the culture is these days, though, too. Like they think everyone around them is an extra in their bloody TikTok videos, you know. That sort of shit shits me. But that's the way it is, I guess. But you know, they don't mind you texting. They don't mind you. You know, as long as you're not disturbing everyone around you. You know, so like talking on the phone is considered to be rude. You know, that's fair enough. You know, it would have been here too. Like, you know, 50 years ago. I mean, obviously we didn't have those phones there, but people had more manners back, you know, 150 years ago, you know, and they were more considerate.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but that's just, you know, unfortunate. But you know, Japanese are starting to get a little bit pissed about it as well at the moment, which you can see if you have a look on X now. It's funny as hell. Some of the things they post over there is funny as hell. But yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see them standing up for themselves.
Yeah, you got to, I don't know, maintain and respect your culture, because that's why we have different countries, because our cultures are so different. I mean,
well, that's the whole point of it, isn't it? Like, I mean, you want to go to England because you want to see the English culture and see the castles and all this. You want to go to Japan because you want to see the Japanese culture. The same as any other country that you go to. You want to go to China, it's the same, because you want to see the Chinese culture. You know, this whole blending globalist bullshit is just evil.
Yeah, I think people don't quite understand that perspective of it, and I think people probably think it's you know, anti-Semitism or racism. It's like, it's not about that. It's just about,
it's got nothing to do with that. They're just trying to use that to shame people into, you know, giving up their culture. That's what they're doing.
It's like we go to a zoo. You know, if I'm at a zoo and I see a monkey or a lion, I don't think, well, I'm going to run past you and like pat you on the head and run away and wind you up. No, I'm not going to wind you. I'm just going to leave you in your natural habitat, because that's what you do. That's where you're comfortable. That's your own space. You know. So I think the same is true in the sense of us. I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously we, if I went on a night out in Vegas, yeah, it'd be a bit different. But then you kind of expect that in a night out in Vegas. That is the culture. So.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's I mean, you don't go to a place and then expect everyone to sort of bow down to you to what you expect. That's just bullshit. But
I'm gonna head off now. Anyway, DC.
All right, matey. Yeah, it's good too. Good talk, mate. Thanks for that. All that information.
Good to see you. Yeah.
Well, it's good to see you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, send me a message if you need anything.
Yeah.
Always happy to come on if I'm free. Today happens to be the first day in ages I've got nothing to do.
That's good, mate. That's good. All right, man. Right, I think we'll leave it there actually tonight. So it's been over a couple of hours. So thanks everyone for joining us. It's been a great chat and some great information again from Jonathan as always. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much, everyone.
And don't forget to go over and check out Jonathan's channel if everyone. I'm sure everyone here does, but yeah, always good to check it out anyway. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.